Okay, hello. I did kind of forget to make an intro for this vlog, so here we are. Welcome. This is a 24-hour reading vlog that took place over the weekend back in January. It started at noon on Saturday and then finished at noon on Sunday. This vlog didn't go exactly as planned. I made tiramisu and then my body just broke down, you know, as it does. But I still managed to read a few short books, and there are some controversial opinions in this reading vlog, so buckle up. And yeah, without further ado, let's get to the reading vlog.
Oh, seriously? Oh, wow. Yeah, you read this in the original then? It is Swedish.
Official language in Finland.
Oh, yeah.
And the actually
It's time tomorrow.
Okay, hello. I woke up late, so I didn't even have time to introduce this vlog. Today is the 24-hour readathon hosted by Milena. The reading sprint already started. It is noon, a bit after 12, and I just wanted to tell you about my TBR, or rather a pile of possibilities, because I would like to have a little bit of a wiggle room so I can mood read a little bit, and you know, I don't like my TBR to be like set in stone. So first two books are classics and I will pick one of them to read. I'm not quite sure which one just yet. So we have Frome by Edith Wharton, which is supposedly a devastating book. I mean, it has a devastating ending, I think. And I do know it's set during the winter and it actually snowed today, so maybe. The other option is Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev. I actually don't really know anything about this one, but so what I'm going to do, I'm going to read like a few paragraphs, like a page or so from each of those books, and then decide which one I feel like reading. Other possibilities. So if I go with a route of reading Ethan Frome, I'm thinking I will need something like sickly sweet, something that will restore my faith in humanity. And I feel like that book could potentially be Sweet Bean Paste by Durian Sukagawa. Look at that cute cover. So cute. I don't actually know what it is about. It's about Sentaro, who was in prison and now he's selling like sweets in a confectionery store. I don't know, then he meets some kind of older woman. I don't know, friendship blossoms. I'm not always in the mood for something like that, but I feel like after reading Ethan Frome, I might be. Oh, right, we have a play that I will definitely read, which is A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. Supposedly it's very feminist, or proto-feminist. Really need to read this one to finally make my video about plays I recommend. Then we have a collection of short stories called Shoko Smile by Choi, Eunyoung. Yeah, this is just a collection of short stories set in South Korea about, you know, modern women living in South Korea. And other options are, I found a very short audiobook on Scribd called We Had to Remove This Post by Hanna Bervoets. It's about a young woman who works at the company that kind of scans kind of the whole internet and finds posts that are, you know, inappropriate. So she reviews offensive videos and pictures, runs conspiracy theorists, and decides what needs to be removed. Supposedly it's not actually about her job that much, which disappointed me. My friend Marta actually read that. But yeah, that's an option. The audiobook is only 2 hours long. And the other option is Comfort Me with Apples by Catherine M. Valente. And it's a horror novella. And I heard some people compared it to the movie Don't Worry Darling. So, you know, a supposedly perfect world, but something is not right. And I love that kind of premise, so yeah, that's also super short, like 80-90 pages. So yeah, let's finally start reading. I'm going to try the first two books.
Was the question asked on May the 20th, 1859, by a little chubby young fellow with whitish down on his chin and little lackluster eyes.
Okay, so Jara's in and I've decided to read Ethan Frome. instead of Fathers and Sons. But I actually enjoyed both of them quite a lot. I was a bit unsure how I'm going to like Fathers and Sons, but I really enjoyed the writing style. The only thing is, well, there are two things. One, I like listening to an audiobook while reading the physical book, and the audiobook on script had a different translation, so that kind of sucked. And the other thing is, I feel like I would like to take my time with this book because I don't know much about Russian history or like their traditions, yeah, stuff like that. So there's quite a lot of notes and I just wouldn't like to rush that, so I can fully appreciate it. And Ethan Frome is definitely more season appropriate. We're already talking about how hard and harsh the winters are where Ethan Frome lives. This actually, I don't know if this will continue throughout the whole book, but there's this like prologue. So the prologue is from this man who is in this town for work and he knows about Ethan Frome. But Ethan Frome in the prologue is in his 50s and he already kind of had something very tragic happen to him. So I'm guessing after the prologue we'll jump back in time to figure out what happened to him. But as always, I really like Edith Wharton's writing style, so I will continue with that. Like 4:30 and I am about 70% into the book. I would finish it right now, but my mom asked me if I could help her with making tiramisu, so I will take a break and then finish this book up. And to be honest, I am very interested if it will make me cry because people say this is extremely bleak and devastating, and honestly so far I'm not enjoying it. Like, it's sitting at like 2 stars. I don't feel attached to the characters. Also, it is about infidelity, which just isn't a topic that I'm interested in. But we'll see, maybe like the ending is what makes this book. So yeah, I will make tiramisu and then finish this book. Hi, I have an update. What the fuck was that? Okay, so first of all, I'm going to give it 2 stars because I actually did like the wintry atmosphere. I felt like that was done very well. I can confirm this is a very wintry book. So what this book is about Ethan Frome. Like I said, it starts off, the narrative first starts with this guy who is on business in this town and hears about Ethan Frome, is interested about his story because he's so miserable and has a limp, I think. Events occur, he is invited to his house, and then we go back in time to figure out what happened. So, Ethan Frome had a wife who was 7 years older than him, but the story is about him being unhappy in this marriage and falling in love with his wife's cousin, who also lived with them, called Maddie. She was a hired girl, so she was helping out in the household. And yeah, that's what the book is about. And if you know me, you know that I tend to not like books about infidelity. And while there are some exceptions, this isn't one of them. I don't think I can tell you why I didn't like this book without talking about spoilers, so skip to this time if you don't want to be spoiled. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the obvious. Who the fuck comes up with the idea of if two people riding on one sled crash into a tree, they're both going to die? Like, what kind of person would have thought that this was a good way to commit suicide? So obviously, Ethan and Maddie crash into a tree and neither of them dies, because obviously, and then their lives are miserable. Like, that's so ridiculous. Also, I just did not care about the characters at all. When it comes to Maddie, I feel like I could not understand her motives and feelings at all. Yeah, I found the characters to be very one-dimensional. So, also, Xena, I feel like she was supposed to be the villain of the story. I mean, she's a hypochondriac and she's a bit grumpy, but like, that hardly makes her like completely despicable. So yeah, I just could not root for Ethan and Maddie. So there's that, 2 stars. I'm glad it was short at least. I don't know, I'm exhausted. I made the tiramisu, it was very good, but my back started hurting and I just felt very tired after. I wouldn't call it baking, but you know, making food. I'm not sure what I'm going to read next. Maybe we had to remove this post. It's only 2 hours long. It's only like 7:30. Yeah, I'm already super tired. I did want to... I still need to read A Doll's House. I don't know. I wanted to start Shoko's Smile in the bath. We'll see. I'll update you later. Hello, it is 9:30 in the evening and as you can tell, I had a bath, washed my hair and I'm so tired. I started reading Shoko's Smile in the bathtub and I read the first short story, which was really good. It was like 50 pages long, so not a short one, but I'm hanging here by a thread. I don't know what happened. So I do have a chronic illness and one of the symptoms of that chronic illness is fatigue. And also, I know that making the tiramisu threw me off, okay? My back started hurting. I've been having back problems for a while now and actually next week I'm starting physical therapy. Well, I'm feeling like my body is falling apart at 28. But yeah, so the question is, do I make myself some coffee and just pull through, or do I just go to sleep? Or maybe like take a nap. It's not going to be just a nap, is it? I don't know. Stay tuned to find out. Okay, hello, it is 9:30 next morning, as you can see, and I woke up at 8 to... Wait, actually, let's rewind. I left you last night saying that I wasn't sure if I was going to go to sleep or make a coffee, so I ended up making myself a cup of coffee and feeling a bit better. So I started reading A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, and I finished last night at like 1 a.m. Then I went to sleep. Normally I feel like I stay up a little bit longer for a 24-hour readathon, but I've decided to listen to my body and actually get some sleep. So I woke up, I'm going to review this briefly in a second. Then I woke up at 8 to read one more story from Shoko's Smile, and here we are. So when it comes to A Doll's House, I was at first a bit torn between a 4-star and a 4.5-star, but upon consideration I think it's more of a 4-star because I felt like I loved the ideas, but I felt like the execution was a bit clunky. I don't want to tell you what it's about, you can Google it, because I don't want to, you know, reveal too much, and I feel like my synopsis will not give this book justice, so I'm just going to quickly review it. Definitely has feminist themes, and I was, throughout the whole play, I was thinking like surely this was published in like the very beginning of the 20th century, but this was actually published in 1879, and the feminist ideas that were introduced in this play felt so modern, especially since it was written by a man. So it did say at the back that A Doll's House provoked an uproar in the Scandinavian society. So why was it clunky? So the main character, without spoiling anything, kind of really grows into herself throughout the play, but I felt like her transformation wasn't that believable to me. I felt like maybe we needed a little bit more hints throughout the play to really believe how she has changed. Like, it felt like we went from point A to point B, and it didn't really make much sense to me, especially since the play spans throughout like 2 days, 3 days maybe. Like, I love where we got at the end, but yeah, I wish the transformation was a little bit more developed. So I'm going to give it 4 stars, so I still will recommend it. Then when it comes to Shoko's Smile, I read the first 2 stories, so I'm like 90 pages into it, and honestly I'm loving it. I don't want to jinx it, especially since it's a short story collection, so maybe she put the 2 of her best short stories in the very beginning, who knows. So I don't want to say that, oh, this definitely will be a 5-star, but so far so good, and I don't really want to rush it, so I'm not quite sure if I will finish it during this reading vlog, because I also wanted to get to, we had to remove this post, especially since the audiobook's only 2 hours long, so I might quickly listen to that. I don't expect much. My friend Marta read it recently and gave it 2 stars, but I'm interested in the premise, so I might listen to that and then read like one more short story from this collection. I know that the 4th short story is quite long, like 60 pages. Yeah, about 60 pages, so I don't know. I might continue this vlog until I finish this book, because I don't really do wrap-ups, so my reading vlogs are the only way you can like see a review of a book. But yeah, we'll see. Now I think I'm going to start listening to We Had to Remove This Post. I need breakfast. Okay, bye.
We Had to Remove This Post by Hanna.
Whenever I went to work, I was one of the last people that once I was outside, I skipped around a parallel world. Its secret swallowed up by the small universe. She wasn't the only woman working the night shift. I saw others walking past. Sometimes with several bags hanging off like this. I imagined the arms of the bags were daily. The quality was great. It must have been taken on a cell phone and then blown up. I can make out with you. The sources pertain to the articles as they were on the date of publication.
Okay, I finished the audiobook, as you can see, and it is 11:58. Okay, so the readathon has come to an end. I did not finish Shoko's Smile, but I have a very good feeling about it. Erin, she bought me this book for my birthday. Yeah, very good choice. This like very masterfully describes very like real people and like personal stories, and like weaves in political issues, but does it so naturally. So I read about half of Shoko's Smile. Okay, hello, I'm popping in again just to tell you that I finished Shoko's Smile, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars really solid short story collection. Obviously there were some short stories I enjoyed more than others, but overall I am in awe how this author in so little pages can make me care about characters and yeah, come up with such like believable characters too. So I think I did get the premise wrong if I remember correctly, because I said I think it's about like young woman in South Korea, but that's not necessarily the case. It is about young South Korean woman a lot of the times, but a lot of the short stories weren't set in Korea. They were kind of set all over the world, and yeah, this book is a lot about like generational trauma, and yeah, definitely would recommend it. Back to the vlog. And I did finish We Had to Remove This Post. I feel a bit conflicted when it comes to this book because I'm kind of in the middle. I thought this would be a very polarizing book, but while I didn't hate it, and I feel like some of its critique is a bit, well, I don't want to say out of touch, but yeah, I don't think it really stands. I also see that this is by no means a perfect book, and I definitely see some of its flaws. So first of all, I think this book suffers from mismarketing. Is that the word? Bad marketing. First of all, I saw on Goodreads that this is categorized as horror, and I don't know if this is what the author was going for necessarily. And I don't know, maybe because of the premise, people expect the narrator of this book to talk in detail about what she saw at her job, but I feel like that's... Well, first of all, I feel like if it was described in detail, it definitely would lean towards horror. But yeah, I feel like it would take away from what this book is trying to say. I've seen just so many reviews talking about how this book was not as disturbing and gruesome as they thought it would be. And I just felt like the point of this book, you know? And I might be wrong, I don't know. But I feel like that's what this book is trying to show, how many awful things we still see on the internet and how we become desensitized. Is that a word? So people being like, this was not disturbing at all. I was like, maybe that's a problem. And like at first I also was like, okay, this isn't as stomach turning as I thought it would be. But then I kept reading and kept seeing how the narrator's mental health was affected by the things that she was seeing on the internet. And I felt like I started to understand what the point of this book was. That being said, I do feel like I would appreciate if this book was a little bit longer, if it leaned into the social commentary a little bit more, and I feel like the ending could have been rewritten. Like I feel like with a different ending, or maybe a little bit more introspection, and at the end, this book would have been a lot more impactful. So it had a lot of potential. Yeah, I understand some of its critique. I don't agree with other arguments. 3.5 stars. Also, the narrator of this book is a lesbian, and yeah, it does focus heavily on her relationships. A lot of them are very toxic, so I'm just throwing out there. So yeah, that's a wrap, I guess. I read 3.5 books, so hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next one. Bye!